And it still makes me emotional to think how little I thought I was worth before I started this program. And I'm now the most valuable thing in my life, and I'm okay with, I feel great about that. The program that you put together, put a mirror in front of me and, let me see who I am.
Yeah.
I think the whole program was a progressive journey of me learning to see that there's nothing wrong with me. Ayahuasca is definitely an opening, but the counseling, I just can't say enough good stuff about it. If you would have told me the end game in the beginning, and I probably would have bailed. There are no downsides to going on this journey, and I think I was blessed to be ready. I showed up for myself. I have a chance to open further now. I have a chance to heal, continue to heal. I have healed. I think this life is a journey of healing and growth, and I have spent a lot of time in this past year and a half, forgiving myself too. Keep going back to, loving myself, that I'm worth it.
Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to our podcast, Ayahuasca Avatars. And today is a special testimonial of this powerful work with one of my ex-clients, Tony. Welcome, Tony, to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming and willing to share your story.
Yes, thank you for inviting me, Nina.
So those of you who follow my podcast, you know that I have this 15 months long program, Ayahuasca Assisted Therapy, where, I provide a wide container for people that includes the preparation and a long 1-year integration process after the ceremony, in order to really go deeper into this work and kind of uproot those patterns, those behaviors, those ideas that are causing us suffering. And I'm always amazed, when I work with people on this journey, how powerful this combination is when we are working with this powerful plant spirit, the ayahuasca, but also we have a safe container, professional guidance, and we have our own willingness and commitment to really go deeper into this journey and to create those breakthrough results that people are looking for. And I think you are just a wonderful example for that. So yeah, I just want to start with, do you remember, Tony, when you came to the program, what were your original intentions? What is that you wanted to work with or to change in your life? What were those things that caused you the biggest amount of suffering at the beginning?
Sure. I think I was facing a tremendous amount of anxiety. When we started talking, I have been married nearly 20 years, and in the last 4 or 5 have started having these bouts of anxiety, doubts about whether the relationship was going to last, and even a simple conversation, a simple interaction with my wife that could have been just her being angry about something specific, for me, would blow up into the world is ending. This relationship's ending. Everything I know is ending. It peaked when I started talking to you, and I had met you earlier the year we started at a yoga retreat, and did the breathing exercise with you. And so much emotion came out in the breathing exercise that I didn't even think was possible for me to experience, to express. And that alone made me believe that whatever the program, if we always have the breathing to fall back on, because I was seeking that, getting to that emotion, which really felt elusive to me. Understanding how I could kind of feel how I felt, but I couldn't. I'd really struggled to express it, and I was scared of it. I was ready to try this.
Definitely, when the suffering reaches a certain level, then we are willing to do whatever it takes, right? To
Right.
ease our suffering. And the anxiety is something, and stress and anxiety, that you have been dealing with for quite a long time, right?
Right. Yes. Really, my entire adult life, probably from college on, beginning of college on.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something I think a lot of people can relate to. And first of all, let's just put a number on it. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you say your anxiety level was, before the program?
I don't remember what I said, but I mean, it had to have been a 7 or 8. I
Yeah.
was functional in my life, but it was there and in every interaction with people. And, I think it had flared up in recent years.
And what were like kind of the consequences of this anxiety? How did it manifest in your life? How did it limit you and your expression and your experience that you had to deal with this constant anxiety?
It made it hard to resolve things with my wife in particular. It probably limited me in other relationships with my family at work. I think the anxiety poured in even into my worrying about it in ways that I really didn't need to, because I didn't have a good view of really how people saw me, because my own view of myself just took over. And really, I could get compliments, I could do well, but the imprint of my childhood really ruled the day when it came to saying how I interpreted any situation in front of me. I thought I had worked through a lot of those things. I have been doing self-help for nearly 30 years, but really I had far more blind spots. And we worked on that in the program.
Yes, yes, definitely. Yeah, anxiety is I'm very familiar with, and it can be debilitating. And I think that the biggest effect or result of that is that it robs you from the joy that you could have and you could experience in your life, because you are in that constant state of worried, self-doubt, anxiety and stress, even when it's not indicated by
Yeah.
circumstances in your life. And intellectually maybe that, oh, there is nothing to worry about, but you can't stop worrying, right? So I'm
Yeah.
sure that a lot of people are familiar with that. And as we started to dive into the process, one of the big things were that you mentioned, emotions started to come up, right? And we did a big work about emotional healing and reclaiming that right to be able to feel our emotion and express our emotions in a healthy way. And that started, a really deep process of examining, right, what do we think about emotions, how do we
Yeah.
have permission to express or not express emotions. Can you share a little bit about that, for you personally? How was this big meeting with your emotional side and, making friends with that?
It was a challenge, and I think I resisted it. For one, I didn't even know that I had these blocks, but I grew up with really trained that not really supposed to show any of my emotions, particularly negative emotions. I need to keep that to myself and just move on. I was wrapped up in what I should be doing and shouldn't be doing. I mean, it wasn't okay to be angry. I would get angry, but then I couldn't express it. It would just come out of the seams on me. It would come out in weird ways, and being illogical in arguments with people and with my spouse. And I really was mad, but didn't feel I could say I was mad. I avoided saying I was mad. I was avoided talking about my emotions, how I was feeling. In hindsight, didn't have choice in the matter until the program that you put together, put a mirror in front of me and, let me see who I am.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. This is so, I'm sure a lot of people can connect to that, because there is a cultural and societal conditioning, as you mentioned, labeling emotions as something, some emotions are negative or undesirable. And we are trained from a very early age to go against them and trying to bottle them up and suppress them and hold them inside. And this is not a good strategy. Yeah. Yeah. How did that work out for you, trying to suppress all these emotional content?
I mean, I had learned to live with it, and, I was functional at a certain level, but I really didn't have the satisfaction and the confidence of who I am. And that impacted all my relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked about a lot that, you cannot effectively suppress emotions long term. As you said, it kind of comes out on the seams, right? It's
Yeah,
coming out, no matter what. And if you are in resistance to it, then it comes out normally in undesirable ways, right? We tend to
right,
go up, project it onto other people, be passive aggressive, be more conflict seeking, all these kind of things of unconsciously trying to express, that those emotions that we are holding inside. So it's a big learning experience. And as we started to investigate, where is this stemming from, this great resistance towards emotional expression and all these programs, you remember where we ended up with, I'm sure.
well, yeah, I mean, came from my parents.
Absolutely. And that's why, we are digging in the past, because sometimes, people come to the therapy and say, yeah, I'm ready to do this work, but I don't want to dig in the past, I don't want to go there. And unfortunately, we need to go there because that's where the root of the problems are. And this is not something that is natural, naturally we are, all emotions should be felt and expressed. And if you look at children, they do this, in a masterful way, and that until they learn, not to do this. So it's kind of going against our true nature. And how is this happen is simply because we learn, yeah,
Yeah,
from important people that this is the way you should be doing it, you should be behaving. And those important people mostly, our parents when we are growing up, and then, significant people, family members, teachers, authority figures, and then, the general rules of society on a bigger scale. And from the very early beginning, we are programmed, right? We receive
right.
these ideas that, oh, this is okay, this is not okay, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, you should behave in a certain way. And as you said, we believe it because we are children, and whatever our parents say, it's the gospel of God, right? We are not
Yeah,
questioning at that point. And, just have to be mentioned here that they are not doing this out of some malicious purpose. Is simply, a type of ignorance that they are not aware either that, hey, long term, maybe this is not the best that you can do, and what are the long term consequences of that. So we always talk about, like healing our relationships is with our parents is a big step towards like emotional maturation. Like, how did this look like for you personally when we revisited these places? How did your idea of your parents and then your relationship and connection to them changed as a result of this work that we were doing?
in the end, I really had a lot of sympathy for my parents, even though it was a real shock for me how directly related my reactions and behavior and thinking was to the imprint that my dad and my mom left on me. In the end, as we progressed, what really stuck with me was how much I believed it and how long I held on to things like, well, yeah, my dad was hard on me, but I deserved it. And it was like, well, why did I deserve it? I was like, well, because I was bad. And I had really believed that. And I had believed in my story of my life that, okay, they raised me, but I grew up into as this independent child that started his own life. And, once that took off, they didn't have much to do with anything I was doing. I had no idea how much that was affecting me all the time. And really even, I mean, still, it still does. I'm conscious of it now, and I can step out of it much easier. But oh my gosh.
That's the true power, right? The power of awareness that the plant
Yeah,
us with, because this is like a lifetime journey, to unwind, unprogram all these limitations and all these conditioning and programming. But once we start to become aware, we have a choice, right? And when we notice that we are reverting back into some old program that is not healthy or doesn't serve us, we can make a conscious choice to stop and turn our attention into a different direction,
Yeah.
and you can do that so masterfully now, and that's a big freedom, right? That we
Right.
experience from that.
And every step I've taken to do more to see myself for who I am and love myself has really freed me up to have love for them and others, my wife, more than before. And how I look upon myself is just really going to set the table for everything.
Yes, absolutely. And we always say in the program that you are the healer and love is the medicine. And as you mentioned earlier, the result of all these limiting beliefs, the suppressed emotions, past trauma, conditioning, so on and so forth, is that we believe that we are somehow inherently bad, right? That there is
Yeah.
something wrong with you.
Yes.
And living from that place is a very painful experience, It's very, and then you constantly trying, right, to fix something, and most of the times we don't succeed, and just the believing itself that there you are somehow bad and you need to be punished or you deserve to suffer. That's one of the biggest obstacle that we need to overcome, right, in the healing journey. And I remember, right, that at the beginning, like your intention, one of the biggest intention was to learn to love and accept yourself. So how do you think this is going, self-love and self-acceptance, to replace self-punishment
Yes.
that was there, right? Because that's what
Yes.
we love. You said that your passion is to be hard on yourself, and I think a lot that, like, we love to do that. We love to put ourselves down and, keep perpetuating these ideas. So tell me about a little bit your journey towards that love and acceptance towards yourself first, and then towards all your relations.
I think the whole program was a progressive journey of me learning to see that there's nothing wrong with me. And because I always would go back to the things that were wrong with me, the that I'm bad, I'm lazy, I'm unfocused. And I saw, that was just a given for me. It took a while, and it took you consistently and over a long period of time, stood for there was nothing wrong with me and showed that to me. And probably the biggest breakthrough of the whole program is there's nothing wrong with me. I had many, many emotional moments, and a good I was session from the beginning, even the pre-sessions. A good session was when I cried and felt something, and I can't even count the times that I had that in a session, many more times. So I feel blessed about how this journey went, and appreciative of the opportunity to do this with you.
Thank you. I feel absolutely the same way. So when we start to move away from these ideas, right, these programs that were given to us and we believe, then we start to question, right? We had our favorite question to ask that we asked many, many times during the program: is this true? Right?
Yes.
This statement true based on my own personal, right? That was like one of our sword of truth, right? And we started to unravel that a lot of them were not true. There are so many things that we take as given, that we take as truth, right? Once and never even questioned, throughout our whole lifetime. Suddenly, when we start to question those beliefs in the light of awareness, it turns out that they don't have any power. Yeah, they
Yeah.
are not true, and that helps us to kind of start to reconnect with that part of ourselves that is beyond, these ideas and these beliefs. Tell me a little bit about that part of the journey when you reconnected to this part of yourself inside that didn't have those limitations, and where there was some very nice pure wisdom and power flowing from, right? How was that?
Oh, can't say I understood what started that, but it just came to me probably three-quarters through the program instead of writing notes, and it was like a daily action list, or results today list, to just a sheer expression of whatever was coming out of me and through me onto the paper, and I just played with it and let myself. And I don't even can't even say what the trigger was, but there was just it just started happening at a certain point, and it's a joy. It's just something I didn't even know was in me.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what happens as we are starting to clear those layers, right? Those limitations, those obstacles that are holding us in that powerlessness, in that, on those ideas that there is something wrong with us, and then there's something constantly need to be fixed. As we start to peel away those layers, your authentic self starts to emerge. And that's what you are talking about, that at one point it was a quite natural part of the process. This is not something that we were aiming to do specifically or working specifically.
Yes.
What we were working on is to remove what doesn't serve you, to let
Yes.
go what is not true, and at one point, whoops, it emerged, the real Tony, and that was so beautiful. I would like to share a couple of just wisdom, pearls of wisdom that you wrote during those times that I collected, because I think that's quite universal and wasn't just about your personal process, but it's a lot of people can benefit from it. So here it goes. You are not stupid or bad, just ignorant. Honor yourself. The only person judging you is you. You are awesome, my friend. Life is growth. Life is an opportunity to love. In the end, self-love is what lifts all boats. The only thing for you to work on in life is to be a better, more successful person in life is self-love. Everyone around you will be better once you are treating yourself better. Dysfunctional behavior comes from negative things that you say to yourself about yourself. And emotions are your telltale sign. They show what needs work. The biggest challenge will likely be finding the suppressed ones. As males, we have raised not to show or express them. Understanding how someone else feels from their perspective is important and even critical. Your self-identity is not who you are. It's only who you think you are. I am the creator, and there are infinite possibilities. It's time to live, and it's time to be me. Let's stay connected. Follow your joy, passion, and take a deep breath, because you are a magical being. Let's embrace it. Find your joy, find your heart, follow your intuition. Make the most of the now, stay present, because everything is fine in the present. There is no need to worry. It is time to set my mind free. With breath comes presence, and with breath comes peace, purpose, and love. And I think this was just so beautiful. And it was that type of energy and this type of voice that you connected within yourself was something very, very different from those voices created all the anxiety and the turmoil and the internal war inside of you. Like, how was this experience to kind of reconnect to this fountain of
Oh,
in yourself?
it feels like a new experience because, I probably have to go back to my childhood to think about just expressing myself so purely like that, and just even hearing the words come back to me, it's like I barely. I do remember writing them, but I have. It's something that's in daily life that's so easy to forget.
Yes, it's a practice, right? We need a reminder
Yes,
to bring us back into that presence, right? In a
right.
peaceful place where everything is okay, and all your answers lay there. These were things that I say to you, you didn't read in a book. There was no teacher. This was something that came from within you, and we all have this
Yeah.
within us. and it's a very different quality of space, right? Because that those voices in the mind, that are causing the discomfort are have a very different quality, and of course make you feel a very different way. And when we always say that the biggest journey, right, is from the head to the heart, and this is exactly
Yeah.
talking about here, and this is that journey that you undertook, and you managed, to take a step back and sink into your body, sink into your heart, and stay present there. And as soon as you were able to do that, you connected with this internal guidance, this inner voice, this wealth of wisdom and power and strength that was always there, but it was so hidden that we didn't even
Yeah.
have this, right? You feel that you are still confident that you can return to this place whenever you need.
I do. This conversation, I feel like the holidays have passed and I've like taken a break from the regular routine. So not journaling as much, but this conversation has really touched me in a way and reminded me how when I think about stuff I've struggled with, and it's not been a lot, but even the few things that I've struggled with in recent weeks, that continuing to express myself and just even doing it for fun and cut and spend the time on a routine basis, the possibilities of that I'm seeing again. I'm to this reminds me how to get in touch with myself.
Yes. We found our compass. We have it now, even momentarily lose it, we know the way back, and that's what this journey is about, to get familiar with the path, because
Yeah,
for sure we're not going to stay there forever, because life can be challenging sometimes, and we can be pulled out from there, right, every now and then, but we remember how to go back, and we know, that we have that inside of us, and that's something, very, very empowering. So let's talk about, practical results of all this work, right? Because that's what we want to see, something that we can measure, that we can, definitely say that, yeah, big changes happen, so it was worth, all this effort and all the commitment that we put into it. So do you still suffer from anxiety?
it comes up, but it doesn't stay long and it doesn't have the intensity.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. This is such a big deal. I mean, this is huge. After, almost a lifetime of struggle, you are more free from this. And even if it occurs, you have tools, you have a,
Yes.
you have personal power to make your way back.
Yes.
That self-love, to that compassion, to that empathy that we need in those moments when we tend to be, a little bit hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
So that is something amazing. How would you say, like, your relationships change, with your partner, with people, and the way you communicate, you express yourself?
I think that's easier. I feel, I'd say, a comfort level in talking to my spouse and others that I probably haven't even felt since the beginning. Nearly 20 years ago, I had a lot of confidence in the relationship and always felt like we would sort things out, and we did. But this is a little different in that I feel like we get to the heart of it, the conversation quickly, and move on together, resolve and move on. Work has gone really well. I mean, I think people have good feelings about the work that I do. I had always minimized my contribution and minimized who I was and minimized whether I was doing a good job or not. And so I never really had till recently a good interpretation of how I'm doing. And just to experience these many months of hey, everything's fine. I'm doing a good job. I'm doing what needs to be done, and I'm doing a good job. It's really life altering. Touchy issues. We were making so much progress in the last weeks of there was really nothing that we couldn't talk about, and everything we talked about brought me to a space of looking at it in the context that there's nothing wrong with me, and there's nothing wrong with what's happening. What's happening is what's happening. And even something difficult like not having a working sexual aspect of our relationship with my spouse for 7 years, we talked about it in the session. And even though that's not your specialty, you said as much, but you just talked in general about your experiences, what you do know, and then more than anything, bringing a space of there's nothing wrong. And that space of nothing's wrong, the feeling I left with nothing's wrong, made it to where within 48 hours, I had a conversation with my spouse that led to sex. That was the first time in quite a few years that I didn't bring to the conversation something's wrong here. And whenever I brought something is wrong here to the conversation, it inhibited everything. It was mind blowing. It was mind blowing. It was easy. It was joyous. And it's clear that it applies to everything, not just that.
Thank you for your bravery of sharing that. I wasn't planning on bringing it up unless you want to mention it. But yeah, we have always these amazing breakthrough moments. And once we embrace that courage to open ourselves, yeah, and to feel safe, to open and to be vulnerable, yeah, in front
Yeah,
of people, that has some deep magic, yeah.
yeah,
It transforms people's
yeah,
life and relationships. And I'm so glad that you felt the safety of this container to open yourself so deeply, and to touch those places that were very, very guarded and hidden for a long time. And just by bringing that into a space of love, yeah, that catalyzed the big healing and the big transformation. So thank you for sharing that. I always say to people that this is truly a death and rebirth process, because you are not the same person who you thought you were, right? When you finish.
right,
One way we measure it is, at the beginning, I always go through with people just a list of what are their main values and priorities for life, and we do that in the end to be able to see the shift that we were making, because our main values and ethics and priorities determine our behavior, right? And what is important
right.
for us. So here is your before and after. So before, number one priority in your life was be a good person, but what you meant by that is to make people happy, make other people happy. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Being a good person means it's just people have to like me, and my job is to make everybody happy, right? And I think
right.
a lot of people can relate to that. And then number two was having a good job and being successful in your work. And then next one, number three, was having enough money to take care of you and your family. Number four, going to church. And number five was behave well, which also was behave as you expected by other people, right? Be presentable, be nice, that kind of thing. So these were the before, the main priorities. And then after the program, when we went through this, number one, do you remember what was number one priority? Be loving, love and
Ah,
accept yourself.
yeah,
I mean, accept myself. And it's funny, normally that's what number one priority is for everybody, it's just to love and accept myself, have compassion for myself, embrace myself, stop beating myself up, stop punishing myself, stop, causing a hard time. And just to realize, that is the most important, love is the most important thing. That's
yes,
what we're looking for. That's what we're all desiring. That's we are all
yes,
striving for. So, to have it put in its rightful place, as a number one spot. And then number two for you was to be present. Yeah, which is also, we talked about so many times that there is not much suffering in the present moment. It's rare
Yeah.
that suffering comes from the present. Is possible, but the big majority of the cases, it is coming from the past or the future. So,
Yes.
taking some breath and being present, that's a good way to recenter ourselves and to remember that. Number three was self-discovery. Yeah,
Mm. Yeah.
continue working on yourself, continue to go deeper into your essence, into that beautiful place. And number four was contribute to the greater good. Yeah, help others, help the
Mm.
community, and be an agent of that change. And the next one was just cultivating good relationships, loving relationships, and be a good part of the community. What do you think, or how do you feel about this great shift, in your whole mindset and priorities and behaviors?
I think it inspires me because the previous thinking of trying to please others is if, I didn't believe that was what I was doing. It really had to be explained to me in blunt language so I could see it. But if you go on a journey to please others and make that your mission, it's going to be a failed mission.
Absolutely, absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree with that, and we never find that contentment, right? What would your message be to people who are thinking about undertaking a similar journey, or they are called to work with sacred plants, especially the Mother Ayahuasca? Like, what is that you would like to put forward to them?
Ayahuasca is definitely an opening, but the counseling, I just can't say enough good stuff about it because once the opening's there, then something needs to be done with it. And it was quite a process of getting to where I started, which if you would have told me the end game in the beginning, and I probably would have bailed or just said, we're not, I don't see how we're going to get there. I don't know what you're talking about. There are no downsides to going on this journey. And I think I was blessed to be ready. I showed up for myself through this whole process. It was not a long, torturous process. It was and feels like a very short, perfect, joyous process. One of the easiest things I've done in my life. And usually a journey like this would have been something I can't think of a time I have not resisted. Getting some understanding of the depth of which we've painted ourselves in a corner with the beliefs that are just in the programming. You can't really see the full extent of it. I have a chance to open further now. I have a chance to heal, continue to heal. I have healed. I think this life is a journey of healing and growth, and I have spent a lot of time in this past year and a half, forgiving myself too. Keep going back to, loving myself, that I'm worth it. And it still makes me emotional to think how little I thought I was worth before I started this program. And I'm now the most valuable thing in my life, and I'm okay I feel great about that.
That's exactly what I wanted to ask. How do you feel about yourself now after but you just answered. Yeah, the most precious, most beautiful things. And also, like, how did your definition of yourself change, compared to, oh, I am just a, little
Oh,
powerless, sinful human being, like, how did that change, throughout your.
I feel now I really feel it through and through that I'm one with God. I'm one with the universe. Everything about me, is part of God, what I would previously called good and bad. And that has less meaning, the good and bad, than it really used to. And I feel that's a really good thing. It's a really freeing thing. And I don't feel untethered by that. I feel more loving.
And that's what we call like a spiritual awakening, right? A spiritual journey, and remembering of our true nature, and remembering the perfection of all, and learning to embrace it all, right? And to love it all, the good and the bad, the beautiful and the ugly, touch these deeper places within us, that are not harmed by this physical life, and
Yeah.
this is something that we truly that is the true medicine, to that connection, right, to yourself, and seeing yourself with the eyes of love, right?
Yes.
As you say, when we can love ourselves, that it's very easy to love others. When we have
Yes.
compassion for ourselves, we are compassionate to others. When we can forgive ourselves, we can easily forgive others. And that's what it's all about. It all starts with the self, and we have to undertake this journey, to get there. And there is nothing outside of us that can do this for us. And that's why it
Yeah.
is so empowering. Do you feel more empowered and confident?
Oh, absolutely.
Tony, thank you so much. It was such an honor and a privilege to walk with you on this journey. And I'm looking forward to the best is yet to come, and to all the beautiful unfolding and the continuing to deepening this love and this connection in yourself, in your life, and with all your relations. And thank you just so much for coming and being open and sharing your
Well,
story.
thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. And for our audience, if you are interested, to undertake a similar journey, please get in touch with me through avatarhealingarts.com. And please like and subscribe to my podcast if you like what you hear. Leave any questions or comments. We are relying on you guys to reach more people. And thank you for listening.